That was weird. Don't normally do that. Hello. The giant hand. Watch out for the giant hand. Ah. Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I am here to have our Bible study. That's what we're here to do. So I'm just making final adjustments to each of my devices to make sure everybody can see properly. All right, looks good. So if you've never been here before, we are doing a Bible study. We're picking up where we left off in Judges chapter 17, and we'll go all the way to the end, which is chapter 21. Now, let's go ahead and start it off while we're waiting for people to come in with the same question we always start with. According to the book of Ruth, if I say to you, the Lord bless you, I'm switching it up on you. If I say the Lord bless you, what is your response? According to the book of Ruth, let's see who gets it first. Hello, how you doing? Ooh, Philippines, nice. Yes, according to the book of Ruth, if I say the Lord bless you, what is your response? Who's gonna get it first? Oh, I'm eager. Let's see. The Lord be with you. Ben McIrish gets it. Aye, Melody, good job. Yes. First one in. Awesome job. So, yes, that's according to the book of Ruth. That was just a greeting during the time of the Judges, which ironically is what we're studying right now. So, that being said, I've got 3 colors for you to pick from, same as yesterday. But let's see how the votes go today. So, we've got yellow, pink, and purple. What do you want to start with? We'll cycle through all of them, but pick your color. What do you want to start with today? Let's see how the votes go. Let's see here. We've got yellow, we've got purple, and another yellow, pinky pie. No My Little Ponies here, sorry. Ooh, pink is taking the lead. I did not see that coming. Take a look at that between the 3 platforms that I'm on. And for those of you who don't know, if something happens or if you're struggling to get the live on this, I am streaming on 3 platforms right now. I've got TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube all streaming at the same time. All right, so it looks like we're going to do pink, then yellow, then purple. That's the order of favorites. And we'll just cycle through. So for those of you just joining us, we are doing, we are doing a Bible study. I am not Dinks the Puppet. I am his traveling companion. He does the videos. I do the lives. Works out better for both of us. We are in Judges chapter 17, reading from the English Standard Version. You're welcome to follow along or grab your own Bible. And periodically, I will stop and allow you to ask questions on the chapter. When we're done, since this is going to be a shorter Bible study, just wrapping up, we will have time for random question and answers. So if there's a Bible passage that you're really stuck on or want to know about or some kind of concept you want to ask about, that will be the time to ask when we are finished. All right, so stick around. Here we go. Micah and the Levite. Oh, this is such a creepy, weird one. All right, here we go. So just a reminder about the book of Judges. It is a ancient historical document. It's not a history book. It's not written like a modern day history book. It's an ancient historical document, which means they didn't understand the rules that we came up with on how to write history. They just wrote it down, okay? So there's a lot of ancient prose in there. There's also a lot of ancient poetry in there. And they often don't explain their culture to you because they don't care. They were writing it for themselves. Now, there is a cycle that goes on through the book of Judges where the people of Israel get into sin, and then they get attacked by enemies. They call out to God to save them. They repent of their sins, and then God saves them, and then so on and so on, and cycle, and it goes on until you get to the time of Samuel. So Samuel was actually the last judge, even though he was also a prophet. But let's go ahead and get to it, shall we? There was a man of the hill country of Ephraim whose name was Micah. And he said to his mother, "The 1,100 pieces of silver that were taken from you, about which you utter a curse, and also spoke it in my ears, behold, the silver is with me. I took it." And his mother said, "Blessed be my son by the I Am." And he restored the 1,100 pieces of silver to his mother. And his mother said, "I dedicate the silver to the I Am from my hand for my son, to make a carved image and a metal image. Now, therefore, I will restore it to you." So when he restored the money to his mother, his mother took 200 pieces of silver and gave it to the silversmith, who made it into a carved image and a metal image. And it was in the house of Micah, and the man Micah had a shrine, and he made an ephod and a golden household gods, and ordained one of his sons to who became his priest. In those days there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Okay, so they're setting up a longer story here, and so basically, a guy made a guy's mom saved up money. He took the money, admitted to it, and so she consecrated it to making an idol for them. So what's weird is that she blessed him by the I am, but still wanted to have an idol made. And this it's not as weird as it might sound, but it was definitely normal to this time period. But let me give you a modern day example of something like that. So an example would be like Mexican Catholicism. Okay, Mexican Catholicism has a lot of Native American practices mixed in with it, and there's nothing biblical about it, whatever. In order to get the natives to convert to Catholic Christianity, they allowed them to keep a lot of their practices, which were completely not biblical. So that's why they still celebrate Day of the Dead and all those other things. So that's an example of mashing religions together, which is exactly what we see here. Now there was a young man of Bethlehem in Judah, the family of Judah, who was a Levite, and he sojourned there, and it just means journeyed. And the man departed from the town of Bethlehem in Judah to sojourn where he could find a place. And he journeyed, he came, and as he journeyed, he came to the hill country of Ephraim, to the house of Micah. And Micah said to him, "Where do you come from?" And he said to him, "I am a Levite of Bethlehem in Judah, and I am going to sojourn where I find my place, where I may find a place." And Micah said to him, "Stay with me, and be to me a father and a priest, and I will give you 10 pieces of silver a year and a suit of clothes for your living." So Micah was clearly a very rich man if he could afford to have his own personal priest. That's kind of the idea here. And the Levite went in, and the Levite was content to dwell with the man. And the young man became to him like one of his sons. And Micah ordained the Levite, and the young man became his priest, and was in the house of Micah. Then Micah said, "Now I know that the I am will prosper me, because I have a Levite as a priest," even though he made a false idol up there. He clearly does not understand how God works. But any questions? That was a short one, but the story's not over. This is just setting it up, but there was a short chapter. So any questions on Judges 17? Questions on Judges 17? So either YouTube is so strange or God is answering my thoughts from earlier. Just switched me to this live when I was wondering if we'd have another one of these. Oh, well, I'm glad you dropped in at just the right time. See, God is blessing YouTube as well. How about that? That's awesome, my friend. Glad to hear that. Is this Micah different from the prophet Micah? Yes, not even the same person. This Micah is just a guy. He's not a prophet. He's not even a priest. He's just a rich guy who's able to pay for his own personal priest. So there are certain names that are very common in Jewish language. So Micah in the original language is actually the same as Michael. Okay, believe it or not, it is actually the same name, just a variation of it. Just like James is the same as Isaiah, or Jesus is the same as Joshua. Simeon is the same as Simon. So some of them sound very similar, and some of them only kind of sound somewhat similar. But when you go back into the original root, they are the same name. Okay, so Micah is just a very common name. So what happened in chapters 15 and 16? Last I was here, you'd just finished chapter 14. We finished 16, my friend. We went all the way to 16. Now, if you missed it, I mean, if you're a subscriber, you can go back and watch it, but pretty confident we ended in 16. But hey, if you're concerned, let me verify. Yeah, Samson and Delilah. Yep, we sure did finish it. That was the end of the story of Samson. Yep. Well, hello, Jim. How you doing? Good to see you. All right. Let's go ahead and go to the next chapter. All right, pink is done. Let's go to yellow. Here we go. All right, so for those of you just joining us, we are doing a Bible study. I am not Dinks the Puppet. I am his traveling companion. He does the videos. I do the lives. Works out better for both of us. We're in Judges chapter 18, reading from the English Standard Version. You're welcome to follow along or grab your own Bible. Here we go. Danites take the Levite and the idol. Now, before we get into that, I'm going to do kind of a combination thing here. I'm going to tell you about a fun factoid that's a little bit of a rabbit trail. All right. So, believe it or not, Dan, the tribe of Dan, is the only tribe that did not come back from the exile. It has nothing to do with this story. Just like I said, it's a rabbit trail and a fun factoid. But the tribe of Dan is the only one that never came back. So you still have the 12 tribes of Israel mentioned in the book of Revelation, but since Dan never came back, Joseph actually has 3 tribes from his lineage. You have the tribe of Manasseh, the tribe of Ephraim, and the tribe of Joseph. Literally, the tribe of Joseph, which is a split from one of the other two, becomes its own tribe. So it's interesting. Now, what's really weird though is that I can't remember if it's the Mormons or the Jehovah's Witnesses. One of them believe that the tribe of Dan is actually the Danish people because they're Danish. You know, people from Denmark, they're the lost tribe. It's like, no, that's not, it's not English. No, that's not how that works. Okay. So just a fun little stupid thing for you to know that people don't understand how languages work. All right, here we go. Now, this is going to remind us, in those days there was no king in Israel, and in those days the tribe of the people of Dan was seeking for itself an inheritance to dwell in, for until then no inheritance among the tribes of Israel had fallen to them. So basically, they had stopped chasing out the inhabitants of the land. So the people of Dan were just living amongst the other tribes. They didn't have a tribal land of their own. It hadn't been conquered yet. So the people of Dan sent 5 able men from the whole number of their tribe, from Zorah and from Eshtaol, to spy out the land and to explore it. And they said to them, "Go and explore the land." And they came to the hill country of Ephraim, to the house of Micah, and lodged there. When they were by the house of Micah, they recognized the voice of the young Levite, and they turned aside and said to him, "Who brought you here? What are you doing in this place? What is your business here?" So what's interesting is that they recognized the young man from the Levite man, and he was from Bethlehem. So these people from Dan must have lived somewhere near Bethlehem to know who he was. That's all we know. And he said to them, "This is how Micah dealt with me. He has hired me, and I have become his priest." And they said to him, "Inquire of God, please, that we may know whether the journey on which we are setting out will succeed." And the priest said to them, "Go in peace. The journey on which you go is under the eye of the I Am." Now, what we're not told here is whether or not God actually said that. They asked him to inquire of the Lord, and then it says, "and the priest said." It doesn't say, "and then the priest inquired of the Lord." He could have just been saying whatever came to his mind. Okay? Then the 5 men departed and came to Laish, and saw the people who were there, how they lived in security after the manner of the Sidonians, quiet and unsuspecting, lacking nothing that is in the earth, and possessing wealth, and how they were far from the Sidonians and had no dealings with anyone. And when they came to their brothers at Zorah and Eshtaol, their brothers said to them, "What do you report?" They said, "Arise, let us go up against them, for we have seen the land, and behold, it is very good. And will you do nothing? Do not be slow to go to enter in and possess the land. As soon as you go, you will come to an unsuspecting people. The land is spacious, for God has given it into your hands, a place where there is no lack of anything that is in the earth." We're in chapter 18. So 600 men of the tribe of Dan, armed with weapons of war, set out from Zorah and Eshtaol, and went up and encamped at Kiriath Jearim in Judah. On this account, that place is called Mahaneh Dan to this day. Behold, it is west of Kiriath Jearim. And they passed on from there to the hill country of Ephraim and came to the house of Micah. Okay. I'm just checking some things here. Yep, you're still good. All right, awesome. Then the 5 men who had gone to scout out the country of Laish said to their brothers, "Do you know that in these houses there are an ephod, a household gods, a carved image, and a metal image? Now therefore consider what you will do." And they turned aside there and came to the house of the young Levite at the home of Micah and asked him about his welfare. Now the 600 men of the Danites, armed with their weapons of war, stood by the entrance of the gate. And the 5 men who had gone to scout out the land went up and entered and took the carved image, the ephod, the household gods, and the metal image, while the priest stood by the entrance of the gate with the 600 armed men armed with weapons of war. And when these went into Micah's house and took the carved image, the ephod, and the household gods, and the metal image, the priest said to them, "What are you doing?" And they said to him, "Keep quiet. Put your hand on your mouth and come with us, and be to us a father and a priest. Is it better for you to be a priest to the house of one man, or to be a priest to a tribe and clan in Israel?" And the priest's heart was glad. He took the ephod and the household gods and the carved image and went along with the people. All right, so you have a lot going on so far. The people of Dan are trying to get land for themselves. They come across this rich man's house. They take the rich man's stuff and his priest, and then the priest becomes a priest for them, still carrying around these false gods for them to worship too. As a Levite, he should have been steering them away from that. So they turned and departed, putting the little ones and the livestock and the goods in front of them. And when they had gone a distance from the home of Micah, the men who were in the houses near Micah's house called out, and they overtook the people of Dan. And they shouted to the people of Dan, who turned around and said to Micah, "What is the matter with you, that you come with such a company?" And he said, "You take my gods that I make and the priest, and go away, and what have I left? How then do you ask me, what is the matter with you?" And the people of Dan said to him, "Do not let